I told you guys to come back. I mean, I said it. I told them this week. I said, come back. You don't want to miss. I wasn't lying. We got a good one for you. Have I ever said that before?
First time ever.
Huh. I got a good one for you. We've got a good one for you. Welcome into Three Guys Before the Game. It's episode number 707. And our very special guest, Mountaineer head basketball coach Ross Hodge, is with us. That's him in case you've never seen him. We're ready to do this thing. Everything is up for grabs. We're talking basketball. We're talking about the past regular season. We're talking about the upcoming Crown basketball tournament. We're talking about next season, and who knows what we may get into. At times on this program, we have gone off script.
Might talk some baseball and football, too. Coach is a big fan of both.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll get into
all that.
I think your very first sporting event that you watched West Virginia play, besides when you were at North Texas here, was baseball.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, you went to a game.
Correct. Was it backyard brawl?
Backyard brawl.
Yeah,
that was
first night in Morgantown.
That'll be coming up. Yeah, that'll be coming up again. All right, let's do this thing. Three Guys Before the Game is brought to us by Gomart. Get yourself a Gomart rewards card. You can do that on their app. Go to gomart.com for details. By Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans. They sell family fun, award-winning, based out of St. Albans. Visit LouWendellMarineSales.com. They've been at it for over 40 years. Three Guys brought to us by Tudor's Biscuit World. Start your day the homemade way with a Tudor's biscuit. Three Guys brought to us by Comax Business Systems, keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, efficient for 25 years. By Jan Dills, attorneys at law. They won't take no for an answer. Simply won't take no. By the Conley CPA Group, providing value beyond numbers. We do have some spreads on stats coming up. And by WVU Medicine, the exclusive healthcare provider for all Mountaineers, including you. All right, court's in session. No pun intended. Let's do this thing. Ross, thank you very much for spending time. You get polled a lot, man. I mean, season's still on, and you were nice enough to say, yeah, I'll give you guys some time, so we certainly do appreciate that.
Yeah, glad to be here.
And
that's a new feature on the program.
I was just going to point, I look up at our monitor, a
Split
Three
screen.
Guys First 4-bagger.
Quad box.
This
is almost like Red Zone channel on Sundays here. We got a quad box.
Let's go to the Ravens game.
Down in the lower left box, you'll notice the gentleman with the blue shirt on. He's got the old Mountaineer on top of that, which is always a real good look. After almost one full year, your review of the swag and apparel that you've been issued at West Virginia is?
A+.
A+. Going straight A+. You like
A+,
it?
yeah. Kyle's the best. He takes really good care of us.
Yeah, Kyle Kiesler's the equipment man, and he's got some design function in there too. So, as I said, we may go off topic here. So, of all of the gear and all the guard, you have fallen in love with old school uniforms.
Yes.
The old Jerry West white and the old Jerry West blues.
Yeah, I'm kind of a uniform purist. Obviously when you have your special games, the Coal Rush uniform is obviously, very meaningful, impactful, but I'm just kind of a clean, crisp, that old school jersey cut type that's a little tighter and not as full, and just the the West Virginia block lettering looks really good, and I was thankful that again, you love the Jerry West, the blue ones they wore and we wore this year, and then the white ones we introduced this year with the combination of your modern school colors too. Right. Allows it to maybe have a little more permanent feel to it.
Fair to say.
By the way, that's a good coach breakdown. He brought you a couple things there. The combination of the current school colors is an elite level PhD, and then the thinner cut of the straps on the jersey. Yeah. That wasn't just like a half-ass.
No.
Yeah, I like the throwback. That was a detailed, I got it.
Fair to say, if you never see the gray uniforms again, you won't cry.
Probably wouldn't hurt my feelings.
Just put those away. Those things are bad.
There was a time period where gray was a really big trend in college basketball for the alternate uniform. You kind of had your two predominant colors, and then gray went universal there for a little while. Everyone had a gray alternate. And I don't dislike them. You
like others.
I like the other ones better.
Yeah. You came from North Texas, and they can never. My son was in North Texas, And they can never decide on which green. I mean, it's always like 4 different kinds of green. Like, pick a green, right? Did you notice that?
I did notice that.
Yeah.
I did notice
Was that an attack on Ren Baker? I mean, he was the athletic director. He's the guy in charge. Why do you come on this show? Why would you attack Ren? He's not even here to defend himself.
Don't start with me today.
When you
Tony.
say
Brad,
so, Brad?
Brad already started with me today. Don't you start with me.
You started it. We're just finishing it.
Before I got here, you guys went at it?
Yeah, he started it. He came in like all pulling a Hoppy Kercheval. I had to jump in real quick. That's neither here nor there.
You sedated him?
Favorite shoes? You're a big shoe guy. You like a bunch of different shoes. Your favorite shoes?
For me, probably just the Jordan 1 low tops that you can merge those with a lot of different, you can wear them with your game day attire, street attire. You can wear them with suits. You can really get a lot of mileage out of those.
It's a universal sneaker.
It is.
Yeah, universal sneaker.
It is.
Speaking of sneakers, I think that the glass floor at the Big 12.
I had a feeling this topic was going to make its way into this broadcast somehow.
You and I have not had a conversation since and I think they did the right thing to pull it at that time because it was slippery. I just think that's a matter of getting the right sole onto that floor. Don't you think they can figure that out?
No.
Yeah, no, I don't. I wouldn't. I don't think you could go shoe necessarily because nowadays, in particular, you probably had every conceivable pair of shoe that you could wear on the floor. So I commend the Big 12 for wanting to be innovative, and it really, on TV, it had some really cool features and the ability to change the graphics real time and shot tracker, and when you made a 3, it lit up, or you got a dunk. But I also give them a lot of credit for quickly pivoting and receiving the feedback from coaches and players that maybe this wasn't the best time to introduce it.
Yeah, I hear you. So, my point is, though, I think that the manufacturers, whether it be Nike, they will come out like, there's in cooking, like you have certain pans that you can use in induction. You can't use it. It doesn't. And same thing. I think these will be like, yes, you can use these sneakers on glass floors. They'll come out with their own thing. It'll be a whole separate type of thing. That's a glass floor shoe. It's the same shoe.
It will be done fast. We're going to be playing on a glass floor here real quick, and there won't be any slippage issues, and it'll be awesome.
They've used, in the defense of the league, I mean, they've used those courts in very high level European basketball. Like I've kind of mentioned it in press conferences. In my opinion, the tiers of leagues kind of go the NBA, the Euro League, and then the Big 12.
I love
and
that.
They have played Euro League games on a glass floor.
Greece and Spain.
So
and NBA events.
And like anything else, now I'm sure when you're dealing with something like that, there's probably a lot of factors that influence the surface, whether it's humidity, weather, how much traffic do you have on the floor? They probably weren't playing 8 games a day on the floor in the Euro League, if you think about it. So I'm sure it's something that the company can figure out.
Well, it's coming, and it's cool. Kercheval's bummed out by it.
What
but
are you
it's cool.
over there, Freddie, frowning about? What's your problem?
I think it's gaudy, and I think it's tacky, and I think it actually detracts from the game.
Fine.
I mean, you make a free throw and you have some arrows that go like zip, zip. Like, really? Is that necessary?
And Hoppy wants to make sure everyone stays off his lawn too. Correct.
Well,
that's what it is. Correct.
Ross, let me just tell you something. We could. I'm not gonna unload on him right now, but we're just gonna let it go. We're just gonna let it go.
I mean, you're entitled.
He was
to your
the same
opinion,
guy.
So that's fine, but
Thank you.
you're going to be phased out of that opinion here pretty soon. It's coming.
Well, I'm going to be phased out. I'm going to be phased out anyway pretty soon. So
yeah, he was the same guy that were yelling. He was yelling at Orville and the Wright brothers. That thing is not going to fly. Get it off the hill. Just get that thing off the hill.
I'm just one thing.
Now,
is that go ahead, Coach.
Yeah, no, I will say like, and I just mentioned it being a traditionalist with the uniforms.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with you in a lot of ways. Now, change is inevitable, and change comes in lots of different, but I am about as old school of a new school guy as you can get, and yeah,
I'm with you.
But the possibilities that exist there, though, you do a throwback night wearing Jerry West uniforms and you make the floor look like it did back in that era. You do a Coal Rush night wearing black uniforms and suddenly your court reflects that. You do a Gold Rush night and the floor, the opportunities and the possibilities are just awesome and
I understand,
fantastic.
and I understand we're going that direction. I just want to say one thing we can move on is that before the tournament, you guys were orgasmic about this floor.
Did not have that on the bingo card.
And I was expressing some concern about it. And halfway through the tournament, they pulled the plug.
Yeah, well,
on the thing.
A little bit more than half.
You're not wrong.
So anyway, all right, move on. I'm sorry.
Hoppy, you're not going to do your normal obvious observations that we normally start the show with, but you've created a new series of obvious observations for Ross, I understand. Is that a correct statement?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, you want to do that now? Okay, that's fine.
Obviously.
Okay,
you want me to play the song?
Are you playing the song?
Yeah,
sure.
You might as well play the song.
You ever heard this song?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a frequent watcher and listener of the Three Guys podcast.
Are you really?
Yes.
During the season?
Yes.
Really?
Oh, man.
He's got
Doesn't I
thoughts
get enough of you guys just talking to you every day and seeing you every day?
So, yeah. This is a great song. Yeah.
This is a pretty good song.
It is.
V2. Okay, first time you've ever done this. So
Yeah,
go
this
ahead.
is obvious true or false for the coach.
Oh, so Ross is involved in
Oh,
this.
yeah,
is
he's
involved.
This is interactive. Yeah.
All right, this is obvious true or false for the coach. Number one, Ross Hodge will be the coach of the Mountaineer basketball team next season.
True.
He snickered at you. Hey, just because they've had 4 coaches in 4 years, I don't know why I got to ask that question.
Well, Coach, we got a little PTSD because I mean, you're in a house like we were going to put your house up for rent because it's the next guy. Anyway, okay. Number 2, had Jackson Fields not gotten hurt, the Mountaineers would have won at least 2 more games.
True.
Okay, 3 more games. Okay, I'll stick with true on 2. Okay. In the first round game against Stanford, the Mountaineers will hold Stanford standout freshman Ibuka Okori to below his season average 23 points.
Hoppy.
Yeah, we're not
On
gonna do
behalf
that.
of
Yeah,
Coach
I
Hodge, as his
agree.
representative.
Step in.
Guess what?
What?
West Virginia people aren't the only people that watch this. All they got to do over at Stanford right now, have a fine young student assistant over there, pull this out, and then put it onto their billboard with an answer and use. No.
Okay.
He is
I
a
will-
really talented
I will
guard.
say, more important than like the point total.
Uh-huh.
And I've mentioned this before, like, because great players have a way of getting to their averages. And what you just got to try to do is like any of those guys, you just want to make them work for it.
Yeah.
You want to try to make him as inefficient as you can possibly make him.
We'll allow that. That's fine.
Thank you.
The Mountaineer players are well aware of the payouts available in this Crown tournament.
I think they're aware that there's the potential for that. Specifics and how and when and all that detail, I don't think they're aware of, no.
Okay. And I got a question for you later on that. But Athletics Director Ren Baker, a former basketball coach himself, has never tried to give you coaching advice.
Wait a second, Mr. Kirchville. You talking about X's and O's?
Yeah,
I'm talking about like drawing up a baseline out of bounds play.
I'm talking about X's and O's.
Okay.
True. Never, right? When you said he never has.
Never.
He hasn't ever brought like a suggestion.
Like the whiteboard in. And
President
he hasn't
Nixon
done that.
sent plays to Texas. Remember that? He sent plays to Darryl Royal.
So that's a true.
True.
Okay. Pause there for a minute.
I wanted some clarification on
Yeah.
specifically what you meant.
All right. There's a couple more. You get over, true or false, you get over losses faster than your wife, Shelley.
True.
There will be at least 9 new players on next year's team. True or false?
To be determined.
Yeah, good answer.
Okay.
Too early to know that.
Final. The phrase you said most often to all your players this season was, "Dude, come on, Honor."
That would be
false?
false.
That's false?
That'd be false.
Honor
I probably
seems-
said it a lot, but that's false.
I think if you want to rephrase that, I'd say the word that you used most often with your team this year was dude. I think that would probably be a true. You start with dude.
Yeah.
That's when you get ready to go.
We had Honor the other day. We were talking to Honor, and we said, what does Coach say when he's really getting after you? He says, dude, come on, Honor. Which I thought was cool because that suggests strongly, he knows what he should be doing, and you know that he knows he just didn't do it. Fair?
That's fair.
Okay. That's what I have. Those are my true or false questions. Thank you, Coach, for being a good sport.
That was really good. Now, you did pretty well because he normally has to, in his years, dealing with sticky politicians that try to squirm out of questions. And I thought,
the question about Shelley was said in jest. I think Shelley may get over our wins.
The losses?
Losses.
Yeah, the losses. She may get over the losses. She may not fully. She knows we lost. And a lot of times, Shelley doesn't come from a huge athletic background. It's a yin and a yang, which is really, awesome. And obviously, she's directly tied to our success. So she does feel the sting of wins and losses. But, she spends a lot more time in the stands holding the infant children of our staff than really dissecting what just happened with the Mountaineers, win or loss.
She's not coming home asking, why didn't you ice the high ball screen?
No. So she moves on pretty quick. I never really move on completely. No. Losses stick with you forever.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, one question, then what's the one or two losses this year that really is at the top of your list?
Yeah, there's a few of them. I mean, the obvious answers are the Clemson and the Ohio State losses in the non-league, particularly because you played so well for such long stretches of those games, and obviously both those guys made it to the NCAA tournament, and so just not being able to get those games all the way to the finish line, those will stick with you forever. They all stick with you in different ways for different reasons. The Wake Forest one will stick with me for a long time because it was the first time we had played down in Charleston in a while, and it was such a great crowd, and you knew how important that was to the people of Southern West Virginia, so you want to deliver in those moments, so you'll remember that one. And just the two easy ones to point to in the conference play were the home loss to Utah and the road loss to Kansas State, and those will still stick with you.
So all of them.
Yeah, pretty much, but for different reasons.
Yeah, different, sure.
And
I mean, sometimes you don't play as well as you should, and sometimes the other team plays better.
I still, for whatever reasons, whether it's you get little reminders all the time, but there are still losses. When I was a junior college coach, that for whatever reason will just pop into my mind, and you don't forget them.
Yeah.
You learn from them.
Yeah, sure.
And, there's been some really good that has – I know it sounds crazy to say, but there's been some good through tough losses throughout your career that leads to success later on.
Don't you think that even happened within this season? So you take the Clemson and the Ohio State losses where you mentioned you led for 37, 38 minutes of the game but didn't get the win. Don't you think that came back in either a lesson or just an understanding, is the ability to come from behind so often and pull some games out? Don't you think that came back to you?
Yeah, you get more comfortable as a group and making the plays necessary when the time comes to make the plays. Yeah. Whether it's a stop, a rebound, or a basket. And we got significantly better in close games as the season went on, and outside of probably 3 or 4 games, you really gave yourself a chance to win just about every night that we played.
Yeah. I just don't think you were ready, unfortunately, at those moments to win those games. It just wasn't totally dialed in yet, that final pieces, and it progressed as the season went on.
But isn't it the margin of error, man, is so thin. I mean, that may be true. I mean, the dude from Clemson misses one of two. He made 3 threes coming into that game. He makes 2 on 2 possessions.
No question.
One of those falls out. We're not only winning that game, I contend we're in the NCAA tournament. I mean, we're talking about a razor thin margin in games and seasons.
And I think it's fun to do, and obviously we all do it, and I do it, and you guys do it, and like I said, you can overanalyze, and you can probably overthink think certain things at time, and storylines and narratives follow games, and I say it all the time, and obviously you guys know how much I respect Jasper, so I use him as an example because I know he can probably handle it the most. But Jasper has a pretty clean look against Clemson in the corner, and he doesn't make it, and you lose. And Jasper makes 3 threes in the last couple minutes on the road against a very good Central Florida team, and you win. It's not always that simple, but sometimes it is that simple.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And there's not a larger narrative attached to that. It just simply shot went in once, didn't go in over.
And it's hard to even fight that as a coach. Because obviously you're going to take the accountability and the ownership and do your job and try to look at every decision you made and every sub and lineup combination, and did you call the right play and did you not call the right play? And we certainly do that, and I do that. But on the other end of that, sometimes it can be that simple.
Or Trayson hits a turnaround 3 from in front of the bench that one falls, and it may tip the scales the other direction, right? That's the thin margin of error we're talking about.
Yeah, and we kind of forget those big plays, and we always focus in on the negative plays, and you kind of, on the other side. 3 Guys Before the Game is brought to us by Gomart. Today's the day. This is the day of the vinyl value month of the vinyl value day of the month. So Brad went in today. We talked about this on earlier shows. 1970s pricing today on the 26th of March at Gomart's from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. That was 50 cents?
50 cents. The
American
thing I'm holding in the picture, got it on set here. Yeah, the two. Yeah, real quick while the picture's up there. That's my guys at the Postal Plaza. We talk about a lot.
all the time.
Mark in the foreground, Mike in the back. Wonderful customer service. Went in, used the app, spun, got the 50 cents for the 2-pack Reese peanut butter cup today.
Now, did you have a couple coins to pay for that? Or did you have to throw a $1 bill down? I'd love it if you had some coins.
I did. We did a combo. Old school pricing, new school payment with the just tap.
Oh, okay. Got it.
You tapped for 50 cents?
Well, I bought some other things. Didn't just spend 50 cents.
3 Guys Before the Game is also brought to us by Comax Business Systems. Is it time for your business to get a new phone system? They have those for you no matter what size business. They can take care of it. All you got to do is give them a call. They'll come in, give you a free price estimate. And these new business phone systems are absolutely spectacular. So if it's that time, if the keys on your phone right now are sticky or broke, or this one doesn't work anymore, or this receiver is all jacked up, go to Comax Business Systems. They'll come in and give you a free price estimate. Did you, I'm not going to say did anything wow you about going through the Big 12 schedule this year, but what did you find interesting that you may not have anticipated going through the league?
Man, that's a good question, and you're in this weird combination. You're still kind of playing, even though you had a break. You guys, I thought, coined the phrase or coined a very accurate statement, like this is your first bowl game that you've been a part of. I've been fortunate to be a part of a lot of postseasons, NCAA tournaments, NITs, but this is the first time
it's a bowl game
where we've had a break, and it really is. So you're kind of like, you've had some time to reflect, but you probably haven't really had a ton of time to like accurately reflect on it. And I think the biggest thing was it was more of a reinforcement than a you learned lots of little things here and there that are minute details, that you just learn going through things, what to do with routines, what to do when you have the super late night tips at home, and how do you maybe mitigate that. And we learned through that. I think the first couple really late night tips we had, we brought the guys in for breakfast and then had them come back for shoot around, and it kind of made for a very long day.
Right.
Well, then the last one, when we played Central Florida, we just tried to make the day regular and just started as late as you could. So you learn little things, like that. But again, being able to have people that I was close to in the league, being where I grew up and watching it, nothing really like surprised me. And, I wasn't surprised at anything, honestly, just as far as that. I mean, my expectations were met. Again, great coaches, great players, great venues. gnarly travel,
no nights off,
nights off. Every team, even a team that could be, perceived as a struggling team, is still a top 100 team in the country with real players and really good coaches that give themselves chances just about every night. And the margin of error outside of, I felt like I was, again, honest, outside of the margin of error amongst the really, really top teams, some of the teams that are still playing, man, there was just not a lot of separation between, 5 to 16 on a night.
You made a statement there about, great coaches in this league, and there are. So take us in from a coach's perspective. When you're coaching against great coaches, and this is not to indict any of the coaches that you've played in past leagues, but like what changes when you're going against really good coaches night in and night out? Like what is it in layman's terms that they're doing that make you say as a coach, like, this person's really good?
Yeah, and I've spent my whole life coaching against really good coaches. And like you said, you may not know the names. Scott Jernander, who's a Hall of Fame coach at San Jack, Louis Orr at Navarro, Pat Smith, Steve Green. These are like Hall of Fame junior college coaches, and what they do is very similar to what the best coaches in the college game do without the fanfare and the all the fun stuff that comes along with it. But they have an identity. They stick to the identity. They demand their teams play with max effort, and then ultimately they don't beat themselves. And you can do that a lot of different ways. Some guys do it with pressing. Some guys do it, with very aggressive defenses, very passive defenses. But there's still a belief that they have the ability to project into their locker room that this is how we're going to win games. And oh, by the way, the best coaches typically have the best players.
Key point.
Yeah,
it's true.
That is a strong little mix when you put a great coach and great players, right?
Yeah, like I said, and I've mentioned it after our games. Like you're always a better coach. You're always a better coach if the ball goes in the basket. Like we mentioned, it can be the same shot. It could be the same shot from the same player in the same location. He misses it. You're fairly criticized because that's why you sit in the chair you do, and this, that, and the same player in the same spot and the same can make it, and now all of a sudden you're
a genius.
A genius. Yeah. In reality, you're probably neither.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah,
so,
I got one, but go ahead.
Brad did a really good job a couple weeks ago of breaking down your offense, and we had pictures, and he did a really excellent job with that. One of the criticisms that was directed your way by some fans was the shot clock is winding down. The guy's dribbling. There's nothing going on. Take a minute and explain in layman's terms, with some X's and O's, what you're trying to do offensively. Because fans get impatient. You know that. What's going on? So just explain it.
Well, I think any criticism is fair when you lose, right?
Okay.
And Coach Kellogg and them just had an incredible season. Mm-hmm. What they did, and to see Hope Coliseum, what they did was awesome. They won the Big 12 semifinal 48-47. I don't think anybody is complaining about en route to winning the Big 12 tournament championship. You only scored 48 points. So kind of to my previous point, no one complains about Houston. They're still playing. They're in the Sweet 16, right?
Mm-hmm.
They play maybe a half a possession faster than we play.
Yeah, like 0.4.
Yeah, not even a full possession faster. But no one's going to say to Kelvin Sampson, and I have the emotional intelligence. I don't take it personal. I think we can get to the place where we can beat Kelvin Sampson, and we've beat some really good coaches and really good teams. I've done it my whole career, but I'm Ross Hodge and he's Kelvin Sampson. So there's probably going to be more questions surrounding why, but no one's going to ask him. They're playing tonight, I believe, in the Sweet 16. Do you think anybody's asking him?
But I'm not. I understand.
I know.
You know where
I know.
Okay.
Trust
You're
me,
just.
He's setting it up before he goes into the answer here.
I'm not being defensive, and I'm just.
You're putting the groundwork.
I'm putting it when you don't win enough games, then criticism comes, which is fair, and it's fair to ask why, but on the other side of that, like, no one complains about winning typically. Unless you win so much, then people still find ways. And there may be people that complain whether you win or not. There's
a small group that will.
With our personnel this year, okay, and it may not be that way every year because you're going to put your team in the best position that team can do to win games. So Jasper has many qualities that we've talked about that are strengths. I wouldn't say speed is one of those. Mm-hmm. Harlan has many strengths. I wouldn't say speed is one of those. Trayson. So by nature, you're not going to probably want to get into a up and down running game with the way that you're constructed.
Okay.
And then all offense, in my opinion, is where does your leverage come from? Okay. How do you leverage a defense? You will watch the games tonight. Everybody will. When you watch it, if you have an elite guard, people will put 2 on him, and that triggers the next chain of events. If you have a post player, I use them as an example, like when JT Toppin was healthy. Well, Tech could dribble down the floor, pass it to no one, throw the ball to JT Toppin, and you either had to double team him. If you didn't, it was probably a basket. If you sent a double team, it was probably a wide open 3. Mm-hmm. So, how quickly can you get to that depends on your personnel. With this particular team, we weren't efficient enough, at the end of our style. Like last year, our defense has always gotten a lot of headlines, and rightfully so. We've had an elite defense. We had a very, very good defense this year in the league, and then nationally still a top 25, 17 in adjusted efficiency, and probably top 10 scoring defense.
Hold on here. You're taking all the spreads on stats segment here. Hold on.
But our offense, we didn't shoot a high enough percentage. So, even last year, I don't even like talking because it doesn't even matter. But, we had the second best defense in the American. We had the second best offense. And so what we're trying to do is how quickly can you leverage a defense? Mm-hmm. And sometimes that takes a little longer to get the mismatch that you want to then make the double team come. Or if it's not the double team come, then you score. Mm-hmm. And, now everything else in between, again, naturally our pace will pick up next year with Miles Sadler because he's your quarterback and he's faster. So the tempo, even this year you saw when Amir came in the game, the tempo and the pace, when you came in with Amir, Chance, and DJ, it's going to pick up a little quicker.
It was fascinating, and I'm in Brad's territory when Brad pointed out where, what's Jasper doing just dribbling? What's he doing just dribbling? What's he doing? The shot clock is winding down. But again, breaking down the defense, and if he draws a double team, there's an open guy.
Yeah.
And there was a method to the madness. Right? And everybody's getting patient, but you're trying to break down the defense.
Yeah,
right?
I mean the games we won, in league, I'd have to double check it, but I think I looked at them and we were incredibly efficient. Way up there in points per possession, probably
1-2 and 1-3 in a lot of those.
And if you combine those games, that's probably why you won those games. And then when you weren't as efficient as you wanted to be, regardless of the tempo, you didn't convert enough of those. And a lot of those times we still, in some ways, got the looks that we wanted. So it's a good question. And like I said, it's a fair question. I wasn't trying to be, defensive.
No, I know that. I know that.
At all.
I just want to get into this for you as the coach to explain the strategy, because a lot of folks just look at it and go, well, the shot clock's winding down, the guy's dribbling, but there's a reason for that. I mean, it's not.
Yeah, there is, and again, a lot of it is you're trying to give your team that you're coaching, because you're coaching your team. You're not coaching other people's teams. You're trying to coach your team, and you're trying to give your team the best chance that team has to win that game. I think that's a coach's responsibility, and in particular, you can't just, you're not going to be able to say, well, this is what we're going to do. And if it's round pieces and square pegs, we're going to force the issue and we're just going to do this by golly, because it's what we do. You can get yourself in a little bit of trouble, in my opinion.
Well, let's continue this for a second, because I've got some things.
Do you want to do spreads on stats?
No, this was included, but I've got some other things. So let's just do this now, because it just came up, and I think this is important to talk about when you talk about trying to fit in what you're doing with what your personnel looks like. So let's talk about Jasper. And you're right, foot speed's not his thing, so you're not going to try and push and get this game into 70 possessions. But what does Jasper do well? He's strong, He can work one-on-one, and he's difficult to guard in those situations. So, Hop, as you're backing Jasper Floyd down in there and you're waiting, what happens? What's the defense doing? And nobody comes, all right, you got a strong dude in there. Like, you got a man that can turn around and go over people and score. To that end, Jasper finishes the Big 12 season as 6th in this league. 6th in the league in 2-point field goal percentage.
Wow.
6th. There is multiple lottery picks in this league and some bigs, and your point guard is 6th in the league in 2-point field goal percentage. So what do you want to do? You want to put him in a position where he can make some twos. That's in the lane. Let's go further. He was 8th in the Big 12 in effective field goal percentage, which takes into account threes, gives them greater weight because of the extra value you get. So not only is he making twos, he's still way up there when it takes into account when he takes threes. All right. Now, what's the other part of that, Hoppy? You back down and the double team comes. What has just happened?
They kick the open guy.
There's somebody open. Oh, really? Is that right? So you go to Jasper Floyd, who finished 19th in this league, best league in America, finishes 19th in assist rate. So you've got a point guard now that is strong, can score on his own in the lane, is an effective passer, and finishes at 2. So why wouldn't you want to put him in a position where he can finish at 2 or pass it out? So I think there's some numbers to back up the theory, which stuff you already know. Obviously, you're coaching him. But that backs up a guy in Jasper Floyd who, instead of focusing on what he doesn't bring to the table, look at those things he does bring. Mm-hmm. And we haven't got into defense. I'm getting into defense in a minute. But offensively, that kind of backs up what Ross is saying. What does he do well? Let's put him in a position to do well. And you try and replicate that with all 7 or 8 guys that are playing.
Yeah, and again, offense is, again, you're trying to get 2 people on the ball. How can you get 2 people on the ball?
2 defenders.
2 defenders offensively. Or how do you get the ball to one person? If they choose to guard one person, they can't guard them. Mm-hmm. And it comes from a lot of different ways and different avenues. And again, that's, when you say like, well, why? Okay, like if Jasper has a small guard on him, since we're just talking Jasper, he's probably not going to be able to come down the floor, make one move, and beat a smaller defender off the bounce.
Okay.
That's probably not going to happen. But you can get him down on the block, as Brad pointed out, and he can either score on the smaller defender, or now a bigger defender or someone has to double team him, and now you're kicking the ball out to Honor, Trey, some of your better 3-point shooters.
Or an inside pass that leads to the big comes
over.
over.
You drop it down, and so it may not always be the most aesthetically pleasing, way to play, but I felt like it gave us our best chance with this particular group. And again, I think that's a coach's primary responsibility is, this is your team. How can you put your team in the best chance?
So real quick question, we'll move on, is that, when you got this group together, did you say, and you talk about square peg,
round hole.
Was that what you wanted to do, or you had to I see what I got here, so I really got to tweak? I mean, you have a philosophy, but you had to tweak according to personnel. Is that right, or not?
Yeah, in some ways, yeah. You're always trying to figure out what your team does well, and sometimes that's, to your point, Tony, earlier, that could take a little while to fully understand
Sure.
your team, lineup combinations, roster construction, because you can have an idea when you're putting your team together, but then you actually, when that team gets out there and plays with one another, you're always reevaluating and always searching for ways to be better and get better.
A lot of that is how teams – you have to see how teams are going to start defending you in order to have the counter to how they're going to defend you.
Yeah, we talked a lot about that, like as the year went on. You saw some different ways people were defending you, and then you got to kind of counter. You have to counter that as the year goes on, and it really is on some levels. It's more chess than it is just checkers. Now, some people have the capability to just flat out play checkers.
Mm-hmm.
Give it to DeBonson and see what happens.
But there's a reason, and Hop, we went through this on some of those pictures on the last episode when Honor's sitting in a corner and Trey's sitting in a corner, and you've got defenders hugged up on them. Well, now suddenly Belo is a matchup problem for somebody else, hence the reason Belo finishes with whatever it was, 12 out of the final 13 games in double figures or 13 straight. Yeah. That's what you're talking about leverage. Sometimes Trey might not be making a three at that moment, but the defense has to worry about the threat of the three. Yeah. It opens other things. That's what he's evaluating.
All right, spreads on stats now. Here we go.
Check the numbers. We'll just go right to the numbers.
All right, Brad's got spreads on stats are brought to us by the Conley CPA Group, providing value beyond the numbers. Tax day's coming up here. Conley CPA Group laughs at April 15th. They laugh at it. Like, it intimidates the hell out of most CPAs. I don't know if you know this or not, Ross. Most CPAs, they break out in hives. Like, hey, what's the matter? Hives it's tax day. Like they didn't know it was coming. Conley CPA goes like, we got tax day's like a joke to us. We got tax day. We'll extend. We'll do whatever we need to do. They are your guide in the tax and business process. Visit Conley CPA Group. They've been in business for like 290 years. I think they did Ben Franklin's first taxes. He sent those in.
That was pre-income tax, but
whatever. All right, what do you got?
Dive through a bunch of stuff here. And you're right, season's still going. So some of this is season long, but not necessarily a wrap-up. Defensively, overall, you mentioned, I thought it ended up better than just pretty good. National rank, points per game allowed, 9th in the country. Team defensive efficiency nationally, 17th overall. National rank in 2-point field goal percentage for your opponent, 11th nationally. And a new stat, we've talked about it on here, average distance from the rim on a 2-point field goal attempt. So how far out were you able to push the opponent? 12th, which I thought was really interesting. So let's explain that a little bit. You didn't really have a single dominant shot blocker on this year's team, but yet we had 3 players that finished in the top 16% of all players nationally in shot blocking. Though you look at those numbers, pretty good. You have to be pretty pleased overall defensive efficiency in this league, I would think.
Yeah, no doubt. I thought Harlan's, transformation defensively was really impressive as the year went on, and he really anchored us with his ability to, defend and stay in front of the ball and communicate coverages. I've talked about that before. Those backline guys, they really are your middle linebackers and your free safeties of your defense because everything's in front of them. And I thought he got a lot better as the year went on. And outside of Honor, we collectively we were not a small team collectively. Outside of Honor,
right?
And so we got to the point. Every team evolves differently with the strengths and weaknesses, but we really got to the point again where we did not let the ball get close to the basket and made people miss, and really fouled less than any team I've ever coached. Ironically,
number 1 in the league for most of the Big 12 season in that category. Yeah. When you look at that new stat, some stats matter, some don't. They're just fun to talk about. Do you look at that average distance from a 2-point field goal attempt, and what's that tell you as you're evaluating that?
Yeah, you look at all of it. I mean, again, it's defensively, offense is like how do you leverage? Defensively is how do you keep the ball out of the basket and away from the basket? So obviously, the further you can keep it away, in theory, the better.
Yeah.
And we got pretty good at that. And again, that's a testament to this group, because I think if you looked at them on the surface, none of them were outside of Jasper and Belo. I don't think any of them you'd say like, man, he's an elite defender. But this group really made a lot of strides, and they committed to it. And, even I've talked about typically the best defensive team in the Big 12 wins the Big 12, and it was pretty much chalk if you look down the line. I mean, Arizona had the best defense. They won it. Houston was 2. The only outlier probably was Cincinnati. I think they were 3 or 4, and we ended up being 6th, and you finished 7th. So, really, really proud of this group for turning into the defensive team that they turned into.
Well, let's talk a little more defense here. I'm going to try and explain this stat the best I can because I think this speaks to the development of what you have from a group perspective. So let's take Big 12's net rating. So the difference in a team performance of players when that player is on or off the court. So you take their offensive rating, the number of points scored per 100 possessions when they're on the court, the defensive ratings, the number of points allowed when they're on the court per 100 possessions, put them together, you come out with the net rating. I thought this was fascinating. Of the top 5 players in this league, and we're talking multiple lottery picks in the Big 12, of the top 5 players in that category, best net rating, individual players, West Virginia had 2 of them. Jasper, we've talked a lot about, and Trey Eaglestaff. And a lot of Treys came because of the defensive side.
Yeah.
And I bring that up because that may surprise some folks. 2 of the top 5, Trey and Jasper. I do think it speaks to a couple things. The development primarily and how quickly you can get a player to do something that they weren't ever asked to do before. And a credit to Trey, certainly, too, on the defensive side, who worked his butt off to become what was a really good defender. You ended up putting him on pros later in the season. So let's talk a little bit about that, just the development of that. Jasper, we talked on this show all year, one of the best on-ball defenders in this league, made a massive difference when he was on the floor, on the ball. But I thought Trey was the little bit of a surprise there if you weren't following this closely.
Yeah, and when I saw that stat, not that I didn't know the impact, that Trey had in some areas, but I was a little surprised. I'm not going to lie, and I think I shared that one with you, Brad, too, and I saw it when Jefferson got hurt for Iowa State. He got hurt on the first play of the game, and I'm hoping he'll be able to play tonight or tomorrow whenever they play, because the Big 12 had enough injuries. But I saw that because they put it out in reference to him, and he was 3rd in the league, and Brad broke it down really well. But simply put, it's just how much better are you when these players are on the floor than when they're not. And Flory Badinga for Kansas was number 1 in the league.
Defensive player of the year in the league.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Cameron Carr for Baylor was number 2, which is, and then
how about that?
Jefferson was 3. And then Jasper was 4 and Trey was 5. And, I shared that with Trey, and sent him the picture of it. And then under those guys, you had Dibatsa and you had, you had the rest of those guys, and I sent it to Trey, and, under it I put, not bad for a guy that was just known as being a volume scorer. And again, it talks about his impact and how much he's grown. And ultimately, that's what you want to do. You want to be able to impact winning. And would he have loved to score the ball a little bit more? Obviously. Would we have loved him to score the ball a little bit more? Obviously. But then when you look at something like that, and it goes back to Brad's point, the best players make other people around them better. And for him to be, for Jasper and him to both be in the top 5 in the league of how much better we were when they were on the floor, it is, and it's a testament to them, and it's a testament to his buy-in. And again, I feel like I've, defended Trey a lot throughout this year, and I will continue to do that, forever. But and again, I know his expectations were so high, and we, but the guy still was a double-digit scorer in the Big 12. So let's not act like
he was coming in at 2.1.
He just, he averaged double figures. Now we needed him, and he would have liked as well, as we all would, to maybe have a couple games back, have a couple of shots back. But he really, he made himself a better player throughout the course of this year. Mm-hmm. And that was my messaging to him in the recruiting process when he chose to come here and play for West Virginia, and could have played for a lot of different people and a lot of different programs, but he wanted to be here and represent this state, and he got a lot better. And that is, again, what's the old saying, like, men lie, women lie, but numbers don't lie. Like, that's not someone's opinion. That is data driven. That, hey man, like, both those guys impacted winning in a lot of ways.
And it would seem to me that messaging is a couple. You use that on the recruiting trail when you talk about how guys can develop and the staff and the player have to make them better, and you develop. 1, 2. I think it speaks well, too, in a world where you're going to have a lot of one-year guys. You're going to have guys that are going to come in 1 year and you have to get them better quickly. I think that speaks pretty well to where we are and how you can pitch that, right? You could take one guy that had not been asked to do that and you turn him into that. So I think that's good moving forward. A couple other things here just on some numbers. Chance finishes out a really great year. Top 16% of all college basketball players in 5 different statistical categories. Belo, the same. Top 20% in 5 different national categories. That's over 22, almost 2,300 players. Honor. We've talked about it a bunch, but I think it's important to say this again. These numbers are ridiculous. Second all-time made threes in a single season. One of only 3 players in West Virginia history to make 100 or more threes in a season. Top 20 nationally in three-pointers made. 9th in three-pointers made per game. 30th all-time in the history of college basketball in three-pointers made, and not done. He's going to move up on that list with the crown because there's only one player above him that is still active at this time of year right now. So whether he makes 1 or makes 10 more, he's going to end better than 30th all-time in three-pointers made. So appreciate what Honor gave
17 more threes would be good over 3 games.
Yeah, we'll take that. And legitimately being the entire focus of a game plan every night to stop them. Yeah. And, just kept playing and kept finding ways to help us win. And, again, that's what great players do. And
did you have success in speaking with the officials during the game about Honor being held and pushed and shoved? And I mean, it's a rough game. We get that. But there was an overt effort by many defenses too.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't say much about it unless I felt like maybe we were on the receiving end of something similar on the other end. Okay. And it was it would just be like, look, man, like,
call it both ways.
I'd just say, Honor, like, our little guy, I was like, he gets held the entire game and I don't say a word about it. So I'm fine with that if that's what we're going to do, but don't call it on the other end.
By the way, no technical, as you predicted when you were in here. Yeah. Good job. Good job. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about a story that hasn't been talked about. Amir Jenkins.
Yep.
So Amir Jenkins arrives here almost a year ago, and he reclassifies. Could have played as a high school senior, but he came in and he had a damaged shoulder and played all year. And folks, if they looked really close, would have seen it in his jersey. He played with a harness on.
Yeah.
And we knew, and you knew, that it was going to require surgery now that the season's over, but that's been amplified, huh?
Yeah, he's so Amir won't be able to play with us in the Crown. And just again, it's kind of one of those stories that you don't talk much about during the season, obviously, because you don't want to put a bullseye on it or anything. But when you take a step back, and especially the era that we're in now, and we've talked a lot about it, to have a player like of his caliber, essentially, he played with a torn labrum in his left shoulder the entire year, and not one time made an excuse. And you mentioned it. If you looked really close, he did have essentially it was a harness. I mean, it allowed for his arm to get about this high, and it couldn't go any higher. And part of that was to protect it, and easily could have kind of like shut it down, but never complained. And it hindered him. It hindered his shooting ability. It hindered his free throw shooting. You can't lift your arms, but he loved his teammates so much, and is about as throwback as a player that you could run across in the era of college basketball and kind of what he did and what he gave. And, there was games that it would kind of, get out of there and they'd pop it right back in and you wouldn't even know, and then, to probably the craziest part of the story is, so we knew about the left shoulder and I talked to his parents about this because I wanted to make sure that they were okay, that I was okay talking about it, so we knew about the left shoulder. So we're at TCU and he reaches in with his right shoulder and kind of flexes it, or not. It didn't dislocate, but just jarred it pretty good. And, came over and was grimacing a little bit, but didn't really make much of it. Didn't really bring it up again or didn't even say anything else about it. And so we knew we were going to have to get the left one taken care of. So when we got back from the conference tournament on Thursday, Friday, we went ahead and had the MRI just to see what else was going on at the left shoulder, if it had gotten worse or anything. And they were like, hey, why don't we go ahead and, MRI the right shoulder. And sure enough, he had a torn labrum in his right shoulder. So he was playing through 2 separate labrum injuries on his left shoulder and his right shoulder, never said a word, never complained about it, never used it as an excuse, never allowed it to frustrate him to the point of, because obviously he wasn't the player that he probably would have liked to be, but he loves to play. He loves to play. So, but again, medically and the timing of everything, like he is going to have to have, surgeries on both of them, and so what that looks like, we'll kind of take the steps as we go. But in a time period where, most players are trying to find ways not to play, for him to play through that, I think says a lot about his character and how much he cares about his teammates.
Yeah. Other than that, you got a full roster going to Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great.
Yeah. Everybody's back, and we got, like you said, it was our bowl game, so you got to get a little time off, and got them all back, and we had some nicks and some just
sure,
like what anything that would take you through an entire year. You had some other guys, playing through minor things, but nothing that should keep anybody else from playing. But Amir is back. He is here, and he's going to be with us this week, and then he'll have the surgery next week.
Coach, on the Crown, and look, the NCAA tournament's the gold standard. We get that. But the Crown is a fascinating tournament because you win the first round, $50,000. You win the semifinals, $100,000. You win the championship, $300,000. My understanding is that is all NIL money directed to the players. Mm-hmm. So financially, it's better for the players to be in the Crown than the NCAA tournament. Is that fair to say, or do you have a different take? And also my understanding is, you can speak to this, is the Crown and its NIL partners are the ones who decide who gets the money and how much? Or can you shed some light on all that?
Yeah, I don't think to the first part of your statement, I don't think any player would trade the NCAA tournament experience, even for money.
Okay,
I really don't, think that. Now we live in a time period where, they may not need it. So, 10 years ago, if you
10 or 15 grand, 20 grand would be something.
But now they're kind of, I don't know, like, 10 grand, I don't know. But no, honestly, I think they would trade the NCAA tournament for sure. And that's the ultimate measure. And, just to kind of provide a little more transparency on the Crown and maybe why the Crown and maybe not the NIT. Obviously, the Big 12 has a tremendous partnership with Fox, and Fox has the broadcast rights to the Crown. And so
Baylor's
when they put this together, so if the two highest teams left that didn't make the NCAA tournament, you are contractually obligated to go to the Crown. And so if any Mountaineer fans are out there wondering, like, well, why the crown? Why not the NIT? Or, that's ultimately why. And I don't say that with a negative connotation surrounding that. I mean, we're thankful to be playing. Like I said, it's another opportunity for these guys to put on a West Virginia uniform and go compete, which they love to do, and they love being around each other in a unique environment and a kind of cool deal. So, but if anybody was wondering out there, just like, well, why did they choose the crown, or did they just choose the crown because of the NIL opportunity? Actually the crown chose us, and we're thankful for that.
Speaking of money, this was quiet, but it's true. The fact that you finished 7th in the league gets $1 million to West Virginia 2 years from now, because Fox, you mentioned, they also have the Players Era. You're going to play in the Players Era next year because of a top 8 finish a year ago, and now you did it again. So the 27 season, West Virginia will go back, and that's $1 million to WVU for NIL.
Yeah, really.
That's huge.
And thankful to, again, was very thankful, to be in the position for what, Coach DeVries and those guys did the year before, getting into the top 8. That's what allowed us to be in the Players Era next year, because it's a 1 year out deal. And then to Tony's point, to finish 7th, and then that gets us in the following year, which brings in, $1 million each year, and you get an opportunity to, be part of a unique event that's taken on a lot of life, and get to be part of the cool kids.
Yeah, big time field.
Yeah.
West Virginia and Vegas 3 times in 18 months.
Yeah.
High Rollin' Ross.
Man.
High Rollin' Ross. 3 guys before the game, brought to us by Jan Dills, attorneys at law. Whether it is Veterans Affairs, Social Security claims. How about this one? Michael was a client, and he wrote, "My wife and I were having extreme difficulty dealing with the Social Security Administration. After years of denials, being at our wits' end, we were recommended to Jan Dills, attorneys at law. And from the very beginning, it was amazing having someone who knows what they're doing and won't take no for an answer, a complete game changer. We were approved, and our lives are 100% better because of Jan Dills and her amazing team. Forever a customer, Jan Dills, attorneys at law." So if you need help, whether it's veterans benefits, whether it's Social Security claims or personal injury, Jan Dills, attorneys at law. 3 guys also brought to us by Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans, largest pontoon boat dealer in the state of West Virginia, family-owned for 4 decades, award-winning. Check them out at Lou Wendell Marine Sales. It's boating season, man.
Nice today.
I mean, it's boating season. There's a big lake over there in near Las Vegas. You know that, Brad? Yeah, big lake. If you take a look over there, take a side trip, you might see some Lou Wendell boats there next week when we're over there. Chances are. The chances are. Okay, one last thing. I want to cut you loose here. And we could spend 3 hours doing this thing. But on a scale of 1 to 10 in bizarre and turbulence of what's about to happen here when the portal opens, how do you feel that you are positioned going in? And is the price of players stabilizing at all, or is it continuing to increase?
Yeah, I like, I think we're probably, I want to say maybe yesterday was kind of like, maybe not the specific date, but the timing of it. I think yesterday was maybe the 1 year
I think you're right.
announcement, like not to the date, but to the day.
Correct.
I remember the Wednesday after the quarterfinals of the NIT.
True.
So, you got to think up until that point, and we've talked about how quickly all that happened. So up until that point last year, everything you were planning for, everything you were recruiting for, everything you were thinking about portal-wise was all geared towards where you were. And now this year, the vice versa, everything that you've been doing, it's all directed towards being at West Virginia. So that alone puts you ahead. And now does that mean that just because 1 + 1 = does that mean that, because I thought our staff and our players, we did a very good job of putting a team competitively that could compete to be an NCAA tournament team and win games in the NCAA tournament And we had the opportunity to do that.
Agree.
And sometimes we took advantage of it. A couple times we came up short, but we put ourselves in position to do that. So I don't want to minimize what this team's been able to do at all. We came up a little short of ultimately doing what we wanted to do, but we still got some things left to do. And then to answer the other part of your question, in no way, shape, or form are salaries coming down.
They're not even stabilizing.
No,
they're just still going up.
It's increasing, and I think I saw something out there that may be up 35%. So
up 35.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
okay.
So they've tried to, obviously, with the house settlement, and they've tried to put some guardrails in place, but
schools are running right through it.
Not a lot seems to be.
Super general terms, in your opinion, in Power 4. Is it fair to say, generalize now, that the starting lineups from each of those schools in the Power 4, the 5 starters, will on average, minimum will be $1 million for a starter and up?
That's
across the board?
Minimum.
That's minimum.
Wow.
Minimum.
Okay, so here's the deal, dude. If I'm a college player and I'm a borderline NBA guy, but I'm probably a G League or I'm going overseas, why would I ever leave college?
Well, I think that's why you've
seen that
on some level.
Mm-hmm.
On some
we
level,
see pros coming back.
The chaos, the chaos surrounding college athletics is because of the movement and the portal and all that stuff. Like, has probably overshadowed the amount of talent that's been able to be on college basketball floors at this time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because of what you just said, again, I keep using him as a reference because it's just top of the mind, but you wouldn't have seen probably a JT Toppin be the Big 12 player of the year in any other time period. He probably goes to the NBA, but because of what they were able to do, he stays. And even to the point where you have some, we talked about a Cameron Carr earlier who will be out in the crown with Baylor. He's probably a for sure first-round draft pick that you could see in a college uniform again next year. Well, 10 years ago, that just wasn't.
You're exactly right.
Very rare. You would still have some guys that would, but you're seeing it more because of what you said. You have a chance to make more money in college than you do.
So isn't that crazy that all of the chaos that we talk about in this circulating has maybe made the product itself on the floor better? It's elevated the product in some ways, even though off the court's a circus.
It stinks for the fan bases.
Yeah.
More than anybody. That's
100%.
That's who it stinks for the most.
Yeah.
It does, but our attention span is so short. The Mountaineer fans, and we watch a little more closely maybe, got to see this team.
Yeah.
And this was a fun team to watch. This team brought a lot of joy. This was an easy team to like. So you have to be, things have changed. You can't go back to the way it was, but you have to be thankful that you had a Jasper and an Honor and those guys. I mean, they were just a joy.
And I would hope, like you said, you would see that, and then you would hope that that we could all appreciate how this team never quit, whether it was looking really, really bad in a game. I'm sure there were some people that cut the TV off and then woke up the next morning and said, "Oh, they won."
I'm sure.
Or being able to scrape themselves off a mat after a devastating loss and do it with humility and dignity and pride. And I think, that's something that, this state and the people of West Virginia can identify and appreciate. And
they represented the state very well.
Two things can be true at once.
Yeah.
And I know we live in a world where everybody wants to make everything binary. It's like this or this, but true things can be true at once. We can be disappointed that we didn't get to exactly where we wanted to go, and at the same time be very appreciative for these players choosing to come be members of our basketball program, understanding what that means when you come to be an athlete at West Virginia. You don't just represent a program or a university, you represent a state. And then the way they did it and how they did it as people. And again, they gave us just about everything they had on every single night, and more often than not, it was enough, and then sometimes it wasn't enough, and then when it wasn't enough, they didn't blame, they didn't point fingers, they stood in front of you, whether it was at the podium or in public, and they owned it, and they tried to get better, and I think they've laid a good foundation for where this thing can go in the future, and I'm forever grateful for them. I've mentioned this. They got to be a part of some really cool firsts for me that I'll never forget. I'll never forget that Pitt game. You know, I could be in a nursing home with Alzheimer's, and I'll remember that game. You know, I mean, I don't know who my name is, but I will remember that night. You know, you'll remember, you know, the Kansas game, your first one in the Big 12, and you won't forget those. I won't forget those, and I'm really forever grateful for these group of guys and appreciate what they've done, and you know, and handled the highs and the lows with a lot of grace. Yeah.
Here's the good news, man. Not done yet.
Not done yet.
You could get 3, dude. You could end this thing with a championship. You could walk off the floor your last game of the season with a win, which the NIT, the NCAA,
like 3 teams.
Right, you could 3 teams out with a win.
I shared it with our team. I've actually been able to win the last game of the year twice. And
okay.
I got beat in the national championship game in junior college. We got beat by the College of Southern Idaho, but you know, our first year at North Texas, we won the CBI, and it was actually against Coach Smith, who's the head coach at Stanford now. At that point in time, you played a 3-game series, which was really cool. But you won the last game of the year, and you cut down a net, and it was a really cool experience. I don't care what you say or anyone thinks of it. It's cool. We were able to do it in the NIT, you know, and hopefully you can do it with the Crown. And it's anytime you can win I mean, think about how few times you actually get to win the last game of the year and how few people ever get to feel that.
Yeah. Well, bowl games are important. We believe that here.
Yeah,
bowl games.
We're all for.
I mean, if you're playing a game, you want to win it.
Heck yeah.
It'd be cards, dominoes, video games, whatever it is. If you're doing something,
I did not,
and they're keeping a score.
Yeah, I didn't realize you had played coached against Coach Smith before.
Yeah.
Well, this will be interesting. 3 guys before the game as we close, brought to us by Tudor's Biscuit World. Check out their super breakfast served with an unbelievable side of gravy for dipping that biscuit that's as big as a hubcap. Your favorite breakfast sides, classic morning spread, eggs made your way, choice of meat, crispy potatoes, homemade buttermilk biscuit. Check it out. It's Tudor's Biscuit. Start your day the homemade way with a Tudor's Biscuit. All right. Boom. Music's on. May have exaggerated how much time we were going to take, Ross. Sorry about that.
It's all good.
Hope we didn't miss any recruiting calls. The last thing we want to do is stand in the way of a nice young new Mountaineer, or for that matter, an old player coming in. We'll take him.
Somebody's in the NBA now.
If you can play, we want you. That'll do it for us. Special thanks to Ross Hodge. Episode number 707, brought to us in part by Gomart. Get yourself that Gomart rewards card. Go to gomart.com for details. Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans. They sell family fun. Visit LouWendellMarineSales.com. By Tudor's Biscuit World, start your day the homemade way with a Tudor's Biscuit. Comax Business Systems, keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, and efficient for 25 years. By Jan Dill's Attorneys at Law, they won't take no for an answer. And by Conley CPA Group, providing value beyond numbers. That's it for us. For Hoppy, Brad, Coach Hodge, that's it. Special thanks to our producer, Dr. Zach Kralchek. Jumpin' Jack was back there too. We'll see you on Monday.